Out here in the middle of our 10-acre lease on harvest day, so about to harvest a little shy of 10,000 oysters this morning and deliver them a little later today. Got our whole team out here working hard, making sure that they're all meeting our requirements for market oysters and counting them out into hundreds before they get chilled in a slurry, packed and tagged, and then packed on ice to go in and load in the truck for delivery. My name's Eric Harraseeket, one of the co-founders and owners of Maine Ocean Farms. My business partner, Willie Leathers. We started in 2017 with the goal of figuring out how to grow a uniquely delicious oyster and being able to work on the water.
My name is Ken Sparta. I started Spartan Sea Farms in 2019 to grow oysters and kelp. Since then, I've opened up Freeport Oyster Bar on Main Street, opened up a sandwich shop on Mill Street called Sparta's Sips and Subs, and started a vegetarian meat that is kelp-based called Naughty Foods. I think aquaculture is important for us in Freeport because, as businesses change and business opportunities change, we need to look at businesses like these that are growing quickly. We need places for our kids to work, whether it's out of high school or after college as somebody who's studied marine science. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I know as someone who's had interns at the high school level, it's a pretty magical place out here, and I think inspiring our kids to get out here and earn a living on the water is pretty exciting.
My name is Cameron Barner. I'm co-owner of Love Point Oysters in Freeport, Maine. For us right now, the biggest thing is promotion of the industry and helping people understand what it is that we do and showing people that it's a positive effort that's taking place in their town. Very few people have been out on the water to see the oyster farmers in action, to see what an oyster farm looks like. I think that the more people we can show what we're doing out here and show how these small businesses operate, that's fantastic, and that's a place where Freeport can play a big role.
My name is Emily Sellinger, and I own and operate Emily's Oysters, which is a small oyster farm here in Casco Bay in Freeport. We're reintroducing a species that used to be here, certain parts of the coast more so than others, but definitely here in Casco Bay there were wild American oysters, and they have dwindled in numbers for various reasons, from overfishing to climate change. It is what we call a keystone species. It's super beneficial to the environment just because oysters will pump tons and tons of water. 50 gallons a day typically is the number you hear for an adult oyster. And in the process of bringing in that seawater, they get all their food, naturally occurring plankton and other nutrients, and they leave the water clearer than it was beforehand. And that has a really big impact on things like marine grasses. You hear a lot about eelgrass devastation since we've had green crabs move in. And oysters are potentially a piece to helping just make the environment as prime as it can be for things like eelgrass to make a comeback.
I think the history that Freeport has in shipbuilding and fishing, and even the cannery that used to be there, has carried over, and that there's still enough of that infrastructure. We've lost a lot of commercial working waterfront in the state of Maine in the last decade, and there's not that many municipal wharfs that have this kind of commercial infrastructure, and that was definitely a key reason as to why Freeport made sense. The crane, which allows the interchange of boat to land with bigger containers like we have here on the boat that will weigh anything from about 100 pounds empty up to the big ones, 800 pounds when they're full. Being able to move those from the boat to the truck or the truck to the boat with ice is really important, because that's really the only way we can operate at a scale that allows us to be viable.
It's a fantastic tourist town. It's a town with a rich seafood history. Its proximity to a population center like Portland as well, or even Boston moving away. We're not too far away from these really large population centers where we can move seafood. Yeah, I think there's any number of reasons that Freeport's the right place to grow a business like this. We, a few years ago, bought a small property that was in the commercial zone within Freeport, but the previous use was residential. And the town helped us with basically redoing the utilities for the building that we had purchased, which was in disrepair. So the grant helped us redo all of the plumbing, and some electrical upgrades that really would have been outside the scope of our budget at that time as a really small business. So it was critical to getting that space off the ground.
Well, I think the oysters that we're growing here in Freeport, first of all, if you compare them to oysters from further south, because they're in the water for more years, we add complexity to that flavor. So people that have a real strong palate will start to taste butter and sugar and sweetness and sometimes a nutty flavor or a meaty flavor, depending on where those oysters are located here in Freeport. You know, I watch people from down south and they order cocktail sauce and horseradish and I say, please, try them if you need something, a little bit of lemon, but that's it. And they're amazed.
Hear a lot from folks who will come find me at the farmer's market and buy my oysters maybe for the first time, and will come back and be like, I cannot believe that I love this oyster as much as I did. It's so clean and bright and simple, and that has a lot to do with our environment, the flushing, the direct, full salinity seawater we get, being not tucked way up a river, but just a little bit more oceanic. And so I think that is a big part of what makes our oysters here from Freeport very special.
We found the community here, both on the water and off, to be supportive of what we're doing here. And that was really one of the goals, is that people are proud to say that these oysters come from their backyard too.